Grüß Gott, I'm Sister Martina, and today we're going to talk about Pope St. Pius X. He was the first pope of these modern popes to be canonized, and he was pope for a short time between 1903 and 1914. And he was more or less the opposite of Pope Leo XIII and Pius IX. He was Giuseppe Sarto, also an Italian, of a son of a very, very poor family of the countryside, a country family, how do you say that, a peasant family. And he used to tell already as Pope that when he went to school every day, he had to walk 11 kilometers to school every day. And his mother said he would take off his shoes and hold his shoes on his shoulder, because if he walked 11 kilometers with his shoes, the shoes would be, of course, used, and he didn't have any other shoes. And he always had, during his whole life, his whole life, this characteristic of a very, very a person of very common wisdom, common sense, typical of a family that has lived through very, very hard times. They were hungry many times. And as Pope, he would ask the cardinal at his side to help him to use the knife and the fork, because he was not sure how to do it. But he was full of a strong personality. He was afraid of no one. He knew exactly what he wanted. He is remembered by his simplicity together with his strength, for his holiness. He was already known as a holy man, a strong man. And this is the reason why he was elected Pope after Leo XIII, because the cardinals did not have a candidate that somehow was clear, and so they decided to elect someone who was clearly a saint, although not a scientist or an intellectual as the previous popes had been. And to their astonishment, the new pope was actually a very active pope. Did many things, mostly inside the church, for the organization of the church, with great authority. He was very respected. And, for example, the reform of the liturgy, for example, the first publishing of the canon law, it was published after his death, but he was the one to organize it. For example, a deep organization, reorganization of the seminaries, also in what concerns what the seminaries study for theology and philosophy. Also very important writings on Christology, Mariology, the studies about Christ and Mary, and so on. And the main the leitmotif, the main theme of the pontificate of Pope St. Pius X was his words to restore everything in Christ. His idea was, yes, we should do all kinds of things in life, from science to agriculture, from reading to politics, but everything behind, at the basis of everything, must be Christ. Because if he is not there, then all these things can be wonderful, sensational, but they are naturally going to fail. Because only Christ gives us the truth about life, about the world, about the universe, about politics, science, and so on. So it's not a question of going through the world preaching aloud, but it's a question of putting Christ there at the bottom of our lives in everything we do, everything from our married life to our scientific life to our professional life to our personal relationships and so on. And he says that exactly the great danger of today, and we live it until today, is that rationalism tells us that the human reason is capable of everything. We don't need anything, and there is nothing beyond human reason. We can understand everything, we can see everything, we can explain everything, and what we cannot explain or understand doesn't exist. This is the great heresy, he said. He called it the heresy of modernism. He said it was the union of all heresies. And he said, this is so dangerous because exactly it's almost, we can almost not see it. It seems like the devil, very good and very nice and very positive. And in the end, if you go this way, you lose your faith. You lose the most precious things that we have, of course, for our salvation, that is God. So don't let yourself be mistaken, he said. Don't let yourself be deceived. Of course, human reason is essential. Human reason is a gift from God. He gave us our reason. And to be a people of faith doesn't mean at all to be silly, to be naive, or to be expecting miracles. No, we have to be reasonable people. He was a person of deeply common sense, who didn't believe in funny things and so on. But we must always remember that God is above us, that faith is above reason. The two of them should live together, should work together. Pope John Paul II, Pope Benedict now reminded us of that all the time. Faith and reason should be together in our Christian life. But faith is something above reason. Reason is the basis, and faith is the thing that goes upon it. We cannot explain everything. We cannot see everything. Although God can never be irrational, of course not. But he knows more than we do. And he called the attention, and he tried to emphasize it very much inside the church, exactly. For example, in the studies of the Bible, it's very good, and this is a modern tendency, to see the Bible through a scientific perspective, to go to the Holy Land, to study the culture, to research upon the old scriptures and old writings and so on, a thing that we have done, mostly Protestants, but also Catholics during the 19th and the 20th century. We have a very deeply scientific perspective of the Bible today. Yes, this is good, this is useful. Pope Benedict XVI says that also in his books about Jesus of Nazareth. We should not believe everything and just tell the histories as if it was nonsense. But on the other hand, the Bible is a book of faith. It's not a book of history. It's not a book of science. So if we take faith out of it, in the end we don't have it anymore. And we see that today. People that begin by seeing faith, the religion, or the Bible with only scientific eyes, in the end they don't have faith or the Bible or religion anymore. Because of course our human reason is not capable of understanding all of it. We can and should understand part of it, but not all of it. And so he says, Pope Pius X reminds us very strongly in our modern human life, yes, we should be modern in the sense of being scientific, of being going together with all the modern developments. For example, today he didn't live it, but all the technology. Of course, we can have a computer and smartphone and so on. But never forget that in all this, Christ must be the center, and not the technology, not the material things, not even our human reason, although it should be there also. God can never be irrational. But Jesus Christ, the Son of God, is the basis of everything. And he says, for example, nowadays people see Jesus as a great guy, a great master, a great psychological master or educator. Yes, Jesus was all of these things. Of course he was. But he was the Son of God. And because he was the Son of God, it is that he was also these things. If we see Jesus only as a man, in the end, he's not so important anymore. We have to see Jesus as what he is. He is God and man together. But God, first of all. And so let's ask Pope St. Pius X to bless us from heaven and to keep us as he was, no nonsense, firm in our faith, which is a very reasonable faith, but a faith that knows that God is the first source of everything, and not our pure or poor, in some senses, human reason. God bless you all. Until our next meeting.